All right, man. So day 4, Jam still being examined. Main focus dates, who said what, and all of these things. That's what I would have been thinking about as well. That's what I was thinking about on the stuff being done, essentially. So the federal lawyer says got to the early mornings, 8/19/2020 with Flocka, Didi, Boogie, Vonnie. They get in the telly, didn't stay with him. He left. They had guns on the table. They smoked. They went to sleep. And then he basically was like, did y'all talk about spinning? He like, nah, we left early. And basically nobody else was there talking about what the hell they was going to do. So what was going on in the early morning is the federal lawyer was essentially asking about them, quote unquote, planning the hit. You know what I'm saying? And none of that actually happened. So he says, y'all talk about leaving. And he like, nah, I don't recall. So he say, why leave so early? He was like, we just wanted to catch Quando Rondo because they had their eyes on Quando Rondo previously. They just didn't do it because it was too many people there. And on top of that, it's like they thought about doing it. The police start running back and forth and they're like, hell nah, 3 paddy wagons passing you by, bruh. Nah, don't do that. So he say Vonnie showed up. I went in the slider with Flocka, Boogie, and Cuz. And then he said, they start showing early telephone footage. They got Vonnie at the telly. And what had happened between that time is he say, we went to wait to get to him. So Jam was in the car with the gun and all this stuff. He was in the BMW ready to just hop out and basically start busting. But once again, it was too many people. And he said it was too many random people to shoot. We circled back, see if it was less people. We would pop them. We stayed on the phone with Vonnie. So he gets back to the slider. What ends up happening, bro, is they antsy than a bitch. They like double dutching. They just don't go for it. So he said it was too many people. Couldn't recall who was talking. He say I was still in the slider. And then they like, where did the Escalade go? They say the Escalade went to a weed shop. It went to Litco, right? And then they confirmed the scene with Jam. The truck was parked, and then it pulled into a lot. And then they talk about remembering the SUV. The SUV parked close to the wall. He said, I don't remember. But what's funny is Quando Rondo was outside taking pictures at a taco shop. No disrespect to Quando Rondo. But boy, you was moving goofy as hell. And I get it, bro. You ain't had no beef in LA or nothing like that. Even though you said you think somebody from Crenshaw killed your homie, you can take that out your song now. So he say, get him out the shop opening, get him there. We circled back a couple of times. So they was kicking it at Litco for a minute. And then they thought about basically going in Litco and going in and completing the damn job. So he say, Vonnie kept circling. We parked where we could see, but we couldn't see. So we was parked in a lot, but we could see good. And then like, I don't know who said it, but we should go in and see what's up in there. So I hopped in the BMW with CVL Shorty. And CVL Shorty is Brown Eyes, but I'm gonna be calling CVL Shorty. So we were driving with CVL, got in the store regular. So Brown Eyes took off his hoodie and all that and literally walked in Litco. And then he came back. And then basically he was searching the store and all this shit. And they was talking on the phone while this shit was going on. Not with Brown Eyes, but, you know, they just talking among themselves because Vonnie and Didi is in the car and then Jam and everybody else is in their car. So he said, I wouldn't do it because of the cameras. And they said, we pulled up, we went, and we came back. And then Brown Eyes basically said it was armed security. And then he said, anybody here from Durk? He said, I don't remember, I can't say. He said, what's next? CVL and me went back with Flocka and got in the parking lot and just waited a long time. A lot of people came towards the parking lot. They like, you had second thoughts? He like, yeah, we was there. It was a Catholic school. We got out the car. It just didn't feel right. Who you say this to? He say the Boogie and them. It didn't feel right. No plan. I text Didi. They scared. Flocka, CVL, and Boogie. They scared. I tried to get out of there and I wanted Didi to call it off. It was because Didi and Durk is tight and Didi was closer to blood. They was in the streets longer. I was in jail. They were closer and feel the type of way. So I didn't feel comfortable. That's not what we do. They paid for the fight, so I couldn't come back. That's not what we do. It gets you killed. Did he say Didi would have been killed? He say, nah, they had a good bond. So now you and Durk, he say, nah. I said Flocka and Lindsay. Boogie was my rappy. And then the lawyer say, did you feel they weren't ready? He say, nah. And I got no text back. So when he sent the text, this is him saying this. He said he sent the text to Didi, and Didi basically didn't answer his text back. Probably like ignored it or whatever the hell. So he say, we got a call that Quando Rondo was leaving, and then they lost the car. They literally lost the damn car. So Flocka was talking with Vonnie, and then the phone had basically died. And then Vonnie was texting Jam the location the whole entire time. And then Vonnie was dropping the pin location, and there was no calls for a minute. So they show a picture of the SUV around Boogie was driving, and Flocka was riding shotgun. And basically he say he don't know who was behind Flocka 100%. He said, we got up close. Yeah, we pulled up close like 6 or 7 times. So they are saying in the courtroom, Jam is saying in the courtroom that, bruh, hey, we pulled up on Quando Rondo about 6 or 7 times to that goddamn SUV, but he just didn't want to shoot in traffic. You know, he just wanted to know who they was going to hit because the target was Quando Rondo. They didn't just want to hit a goddamn random, pardon me. But who did you hit? Taking the BMW. Why do you think that? We was coming with them on the plane, and then we went to the vape store. Okay, so they went to the vape store and all this stuff, and basically they started thinking about hopping out the car at the vape store and running in there and killing Quando Rondo in the vape store. The reason that they didn't go to the vape store is because they thought that, yo, hey, bruh, that glass door might lock. If that glass door lock, we're going to be trapped in there. But mind you, Jam said if you a BD, you supposed to die for the gang. So, bruh, it shouldn't even matter. To me, that's just how I take that. We didn't see them get out. We talked about running the store. So what if the door, buzz in, somebody hold the door open and do it? And then he said, why didn't you do that? He said, we was concerned we wouldn't get out. Were you followed to him? No, we went to the gas station. I'm not from here. I don't know the Beverly until my lawyer said it. So he was like, the lawyers were trying to describe the hills to these dudes, right? And they don't know shit about the hills, right? So he basically like, man, I don't know. I didn't even know what the hell the Beverly was until my lawyer said it. And then they basically say, tell us about the gas station. He said, we came to the decision we was going to do it at the gas station. We pulled up close to him, and then he mugged the slider. Lil Pop had mugged the slider before, or the Ultima, before they actually did the shooting, bruh. And he said, we decided as a group to do it there. We just made the choice to do it. So he said, we circled around. And then let me show you where the white car went. It shows the alley. The first was Flocka. Was Brown Eyes. So first was CVL, had the Beretta. Jim had shot 4 times. I'm used to walking up, and CVL shot first from a distance. And then Flocka was beside me. And was the car in the alley. He said, the slider we talking about? Yeah, driving fast as hell. So he said that when they pulled off, that Asa was actually driving fast as hell. But they started arguing during the drill. I already said that in the previous video, but yeah. Because they kind of switched the shooters a little bit. So I know y'all like, I thought you said this person. Bruh, I'm just telling you what I seen. What I heard. So he said they started driving fast as hell. I say, slow down, you making us hot. We talked to Didi about how many shots. I came off and got 4, and y'all was scared of the pump to blow up. That's what they started talking about. Like, bro, so when y'all was shooting, y'all was just shooting indiscriminately. He like, yeah, we didn't care about the pump blowing up and all that. And then he said Flocka switch jammed on him. And then he said he lied to everybody and said he shot 8 shots. Then he said we're explaining who shot what. We were arguing the shooting during the shooting Flocka shot over the head of CVL. See, the way they were saying this shit, bro, it was kind of fast and then kind of slow a little bit. So when the transcripts come out, I'm going to clear up a lot of stuff with the transcripts, but I know y'all just want this right now. So We was about to throw the guns away, but we put them in the bag and we tossed the hoodie in the corner. So they tossed the guns and all that shit in a trash can, but they put it in a bag. He say they left us and came back. Didi and Vonnie got me and Flocka, and basically they talk about Flocka being 6'5", and he said he had to jam himself in with 3 people in the back. He say 4 people, but it actually, yeah, that would have been 4 people. No, he would have made 3. I mean, he'd have made 4. So no, it wasn't that. So he said Vonnie was driving, Didi was on the phone with Durk. He said he couldn't see him on the phone. He had heard him say, did somebody get hit and how many times did you shoot? And Didi asked the questions for him. So what did Durk say when y'all replied? I don't remember. We went to In-N-Out. He pulls up the In-N-Out video. He said, have you seen this video? Jam looks at the jury and say, I don't remember coming there. A cop looked at me and sized me up. And I'm like, did he know my shoes or something? It might have been my nerves. And he says, basically that the dude starts sizing up, the black cop starts sizing up. It's 2 black dudes. And he say, basically, do y'all remember it now? He like, I wanted to get out of LA. I had these clothes on, we left, and we went to, and he said the driver asked about payment from Vonnie to go to San Diego, who was in an SUV, Flocka, Didi, Asa, and CBL. The people try to find out if anybody got hit. He said, I don't recall. He said, y'all got to the airport. Shows a photo of Didi and them, and it shows everybody that's basically at 819 in the airport back home. He say, when did you know about the flight? He say, I don't know. Shows everybody boarding. Y'all talk about it on the flight. He said, I don't even know. He said, and then the lawyer basically says, when robbers get killed, do people get mocked? He said, Chicago made it popular to post a dead body smoking weed. He bring up smoking on Tuka, and then he gonna say, or it's like smoking on Donald Trump. I was like, what the fuck? Like, nigga, why the hell you bring up Donald Trump? He said, what did you feel? He said, I was mad. It had nothing to do with me. With people I didn't know, it's how I got my 12 years. Like, I don't know Quando Rondo or his crew. I ain't have beef with them. It was sloppy. He said, why did you feel that way? He said, it was rapper beef with Quando Rondo and NBA Youngboy. If it was Booney Mo, yeah, I ain't know Von. I talked to Durk. He was in prayer with C3 behind him at his house. He said, I asked Durk, why you called me this first time? He said, I was with my son. Durk said, y'all got Pop. He was smoking on Von, so he count. Y'all ain't get Quando, but Pop can't say it no more. He say, so Pop diss Von? And they say Lil Durk was smiling on FaceTime about it. I was mad about him putting me in a situation with people I don't know. I caught my time with Booney Mo cousin, and he told on me. And then he say, what did he say about Pop? Were you offered a payment? And he say, I wasn't offered a payment for Lil Pop. That right there had threw me the hell off, because you just basically admitted it really wasn't no murder for hire. And don't worry, it wasn't a murder for hire, because Brian still destroyed that as far as Jam saying it's a murder for hire. So he said, you say you weren't offered a payment? He say, no. He say, but Atlanta, there was a bounty. He say, it was a group discussion. He say, you did a song from who label? He say, Federal Freestyle on Loyal Bars 2. It's under OTF. And then it shows a cover, and it was made in like 12/15 or 12/12/2022. And it was recorded after the shooting. He said, you ever recorded a song with OTF before? I believe he said, yeah. I could have sworn he said, yeah, I recorded a song with OTF before. And he could have said no, but he was talking so damn low that yeah and no could have literally been the same thing. So I'll wait for the transcripts to verify that. He say, yeah, got paid $10,000. If you didn't shoot, would you be on the album? He said, I wouldn't be around or even alive, so no. Did anybody get paid, you think? He said, yeah, Flocka called Durk and talked about getting paid that money. And then the lawyer said some shit, they got struck. And he say, O-Block members, did Durk tell you about O-Block and King Von death? He say, they ran on King Von and let it happen. They did nothing. Airbnbs basically was presented for these cats in O-Block to go slide for Von. And he said, they didn't even take it. He said, so the whole world saw them run. He say, O-Block members running on King Von on film, basically on TV. And then he say, I saw the video and they ran. Money Duke got into it about Von and them not sliding. Durk made comment about the O with Booney Mo. Duke said, we out here daily, nobody sliding on us. He said, what y'all do for Von? Durk said, we did, saying we did something. They said, we can get into that with the O, and then a group FaceTime with Didi and Jam saying we can go against the O. It was fuck. He literally said it was fuck them. Duke thought he was mad about Fat, and then they start talking about Rich Lamron picture in the 2023 beef with the whole block. Wilson, Durk, they were about to go do something with him about Booney Mo, and Lamron was beefing. They took Booney Mo's side, and it shows the 2023 beef with Richo, and then it's a text that say, Buddy and them, they act bad, Buddy and them booty shakers. And then it say less, I'm on that blood. And then it say, them niggas bitches, they play with us for the world. Anything after that, we gonna look like we need them or some work. Shit. Then Jam say, drop. He said, I'm ready on Pluto. They was talking about a song, I think. And then Didi cousin was Lil Mo, an audio clip from Jam, like by Lil Durk. It's 56 seconds. It's about Rich Lamron. And he say, I'm saying nobody gonna step to them like, fuck them. We don't need them. They did all that bitch ass shit on social media. And like, what did it mean? Just say they did a bunch of stuff on social media. They did stuff that was bogus. Let's be into it. We can fight or gunplay. And Jam explains what the text meant. People think we gonna need them. Lamron got nothing to do with OTF. It was fuck them. And it's an audio clip that's saying, tell cuz to give me a car. I don't care about how I go. Give me a few cars. I'll do everything myself. And you say, what kind of cars? You say stolen cars so it can't be traced. There's a group text about Richo Lamron, and it say on the phone with Richo on the way to Threat. And you say, I'm coming to Threat. They say, why are you on the phone with that goofy? Tell him link now and find out how to fuck a link. It's that, brother. And that was Zoo. Zoo basically like, man, find out where they at. Fuck that link, bruh. And he said, I got them hunting you. And it adds up with like 3 ski masks. It's something about a video shoot on 64 for normal. And it's a video shoot on 64 for normal. Get here. He not going to let his fans down. OTF Booney Mo. Now, I got to do some research on this shit. The phones are dead. But I thought, and I could do it right now. I'll see right now. I'm just going to send a freaking inbox to somebody and see how this shit go. Because the stuff is literally on the side. It's literally on the freaking side. And oh shit, never mind. Never mind. Okay. So somebody, they said it was Lil Durk. They say Lil Durk text Rich Lamron and said, that's a reply. Say, we knew where y'all at, y'all stupid ass. Oh, no. He said, I got him hunting you, adds up better, had him 3 ski masks on. Whatever. I don't know. They said Lil Durk sent that message. I couldn't really verify it. But I'm going to say this before we continue on. None of that really got to do with the murder of Lil Pop. What they're trying to do is establish that these cats ride around in stolen cars and trying to shoot it up and bang, bang, bang and all this shit and everything. And basically, man, that's what that is. That's what they're trying to freaking prove, is that they out there sliding stolen cars and shooting at people. That's what they do. So they ride around in a stolen car in freaking LA and shoot up somebody, and that's what they do. So Jam say, we knew where he was at. Oh, Jam say this, we knew where he was at. Oh, stupid ass. He say this shit to the jury. The feds, I know the feds 1,000,000% trained Jam on how to talk to the jurors, because it was times where he was literally looking at the jurors and it seemed like he was trying to have a conversation with them. And he say, he was on house arrest. We was told that by my baby mama. She from Lamron. We were looking at social media, basically trying to get the drops on people. He say, Did you get hot cars from Durk? He say, yeah. And then a new line from Booney Mo say, Blood also say, Unc slide in the sea. And then Jam say, so Unc is coming with us. It's 97. They said, nobody got no money or nothing. What about the cars and shit? Ain't no sliding? He meant to put a question mark. They say, Booney Mo, well, it doesn't say, but Booney Mo sent a voice message and say, Schmirk want cribs. He wants shit done right. He just put like 500, 600,000 in the streets. You know, he need to know houses. It needs to be structured. He said, ain't none of that shit happening. He say, so no more little bro shit. Everybody who need to get blamed, gonna get blamed. If Mo mess up, it's on Mo. If Didi mess up, it's on Didi. He basically said, we not finna be doing this shit like little ass kids. And then this fool, this is crazy. This fool just say, oh, Scud, you right. And then they basically say, the siders were for you to use. He said, yeah. He said, you testify about your role in the murder. No offers have been given about the murder. He said, yeah. How you get caught? He say, caught with a gun charge. The judge say, I told when I got caught with the gun, I had to get it off my chest. This fool said, I told on the murder because I got to get it off my chest. But I found out, you know, the dude with the braids, he lied about no cameras and all that because the audio would have been recorded. And they literally used audio in their 5th damn recording. I know this because when Brian Steele crossed, they played his audio recording. So you don't have the video, but you have that. So he said, I had to tell because I felt bad. Lawyers say, did you think you'll be caught? He said, no, but it was possible because it was LA, it was Hollywood and rich people. And then the lawyers say, go tell. He say, I wrote a note. And the note literally says this. First line, I know about murders. Second line, I don't want to talk on camera. Third line, I know a lot. He said, you try to give the note discreetly? He said, yeah, because body cams are getting put out. Like they on the phone. I mean, he basically said body cams are getting put out and their phone wasn't working or whatever. And then this fool say, I blame Durk for this. As a black disciple, I can't snitch. I was mad. I didn't know anybody. I had no reason to do this. It was selfish. I still got love for Durk. He was there for me when I felt bad and I had nothing. He said, you didn't feel bad for the murders in Wisconsin? Jen said, no, I wrote that, my bad. I'm like, you didn't feel bad about the murders in Wisconsin? Anyways, Jen said, I will always be, no, Jen said I will always be home in 18 months. Oh, this is Brian Steele shit. Okay. So what ends up happening, right? Brian Steele walks up and he starts batting shit like Shaq. And Jam said, they started talking about, Brian Steele started talking about basically Jam coming in and basically coming home in 18 months. Now, I missed part of it because the courtroom was packed. When you go to lunch, it's all the first come, first serve thing. So when I was doing my videos, bro, it was already a line by the time I got back. I thought I was going to get in, so I had to go to the overflow. And he say, this is how it's going to, basically said, I said I'll be home in 18 months. Brian Steele say, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to ask you questions. Brian Steele, you understand the system because you've been in it your whole entire life. Jen say, I'm street smart, not book smart. Brian Steele say, tell him about murders. You've been a violent person in and out of jail. Jen say, at times, I can be, yes. Brian Steele say, when you do robberies, you do it by force. He say, yeah. You used to robbing people. You would rob me for my watch. And Jam like, I never took no watch from nobody. He's like, I don't even know you. It was hella funny. And they bring up the Wisconsin robbery. He said, you know, your gun was loaded and you could rob the store. He did nothing to you. You knew nothing about him. What did you do to him? And he said, what do you do to him? Explain. He said, I killed him. Brian Steele said, no, explain it fully. You blew his brains out. Blood splattered on you. Just say, no, blood didn't splatter. He said, Brian Steele say, no, you let him die. This fool Jeb had everybody lying. He was like, what, you want me to do CPI? You know how Chicago is. What, you want me to do CPI? And Brian still say, you drove back and you bragged about it. Jam say, I called a meeting and no, I didn't brag about it. He say, Lil Dean, you murdered him. Jam say, I didn't murder him. Brian still say, Lil Dean, you pled guilty to murder. You pled guilty. This killing of this killing of Lil Pop, what you did was leave him without knowing what's going on. Jam said, until I went to Hooters. Brian still say, you said you didn't want to do this? Jam say, yeah. Brian still say, you only kill when you mad? He said, yeah. Brian still said, but you never backed out. He said, yeah. Brian still say, outside you ready to kill? He said, yeah. You were there for a purpose, a mission. You got family at home. You got a kid. You've been gone for 12 years. Jam like, yeah. Brian still say, you thought about that, all of that innocent stuff for Quando Rondo? He said, I thought about a million things. Brian still said, you thought about coming home. You're a killer at heart. Jam started laughing. He like, no, that's not me. Jam said, I'm not hoping to get Lil Durk life. I'm trying to get home. Brian still say, you didn't hope to come home? He said, I want to come home. Brian still say, you went right to killing. Jam say, that's your opinion. I tried to stop it. Brian still say, you're a minister, the highest ranking member of the Black Disciples. You're telling us you were scared? Jam say, I was. Brian still say, do you have a text you sent? Jam say, no, I wish I did. Brian still say, you are a high ranking member. You're a minister. He say, I was OTF first and Durk was the leader. Brian still said, you're more important than the people you kill? Jam say, no, I can't say that. Brian still said, is it scary for you if you were in the lobby? He say, yeah. Brian still say, you're the scary person. And he's talking about when the people were in the lobby chilling, waiting on their rides, and Quando Rondo was in the lobby chilling, waiting on their rides. And Brian still basically was like, so you were willing to go hurt all these innocent people that were in this lobby. Wouldn't that be scary? He like, yeah. And he said, scary because you're the scary person. And then Brian still say, what if it was a kid? Jen say, that's a trick question. Brian still say, what about the store? Jen say, I wanted to shoot up the truck and leave. Brian still said, what about blowing up the gas station? Jen say, didn't think about that. You using all these words, man. Brian still say, you ran off on a funeral. So I guess when he got in trouble, he basically had a chance to come and basically go pay his respects at a funeral, but he went to the funeral and he got the hell up out of there. And then he basically bring up that Lil Durk and Jam were born in 1992. And then Brian still said, you called him a pretty boy. Jam say, no, I said he was making party songs. Brian still said, most people forgot about you. Jam say, my son and his son were best friends and our baby mamas was best friends. Jam say, so yeah, he never turned his back on his people. Talking about Durk. Brian still say, you came home to nothing. You came home to Miss D. You were sleeping with her. She was an honorable woman. She was a good woman. He say, yeah. They said, you told Miss D Durk is my bitch. You said Durk is a hoe. Jam say, no. Brian still said, you said my name is why Durk is hot. Jam say, no. You said Durk was being used for money. Jam say, no. Then Brian still brings up Durk in Atlanta and said, Durk had to be killed. Durk said, y'all had to go kill for $1 million for King Von death. And Jam say, and for trolling. Then Brian still say, besides your word, do you have proof of the murder for hire? Jam say, no. Why would I record him? Brian still say, you ever told anybody about the bounty? You never told people that was a lie? Jam say, no. So they start talking about basically these phone calls from 5:15 basically to 5:10. And he say, you would be home for the birth of your children. He started talking about dates, 5:10, 5:15 and all this shit. And he basically was saying that he had kids around these times. So in March and in June, Jam had his kids. And basically he started snitching to get back to his kids. And Jam say, no, my kids were born May 15th in June. Then Brian still say, you asked for no recording. Jam say, no video recording. Brian still say, let's play your May 2023 signed sworn statement. I want you to listen to you. And it starts playing it. It talks about the murder case. And then Jam say, OTF head is Durk. He said, what was spoke about when King Von slutty pop Lil Tim. He said the security was with Tim because Lil Tim had a gun and they didn't pop him. And then they start talking about his son's birthday being in November. And then Jen said, I never spoke to him about Quando Rondo and Lil Tim about that. So I remember a lot more of this. I don't have to really read this shit. The beef was really with Lil Pop and Lil Tim. Mind you, nobody slid on Lil Tim at all. They had his address. And I think that was brought in for that shit. I think that's going to be put in closing. And the Fed asked this fool Jam on a recording, was there money on his head? Jam say, nah. So Brian still basically says, that's your voice? Just say, yeah. He said, they asked you about King Von and no money was discussed. You just lied under oath with that recording. Jam say, yes. Brian still say, you should have told them about it. Jam say, yes. He say, you're making it about Durk. Tell us about Slutty. Were you close? And y'all already know by listening to this shit, Brian still is asking about Slutty because previously Jim said, I kill people when I'm mad about, people that I fuck with. And they blamed who? Who did they blame? Exactly. So we were Cody's, we were close. Brian still say, tell us about Slutty. Jim say, I wanted to show DJ Benz there. He talking about showing the damn video. And Brian still basically said that you didn't see Slutty die in the video. He like, nah, I was just trying to show that DJ Benz is there. And he said, you had a problem with Slutty dying? Jim say, yeah. Brian still say, Lil Tim and King Von were the reason he said, Lil Tim and Quando Rondo were the reason Slutty died. Jim say, I don't look at it that way. Brian still said, the recording said no money was ever mentioned. And then Jam gonna say, there's more to it. Brian still say, you brought up that Slutty was killed. He say, yeah. Brian still say, you met with them 31 times. Jam say, I don't know. Brian still say, you talked 4 times before being recorded. Jam say, yeah. You were looking forward to it. He say, yeah. You don't know about the context of the conversation. And then Jam was like, I don't know what that means. So he said, you knew the feds were interested in Lil Durk. Jam say, yeah. Brian still say, we don't have communications about anything with Lil Durk from basically the 14th to the 18th. Jam say, yeah. He said, we only have that meeting that happened in Atlanta. And then in Chicago, you get hit up out the blue. And they say, yeah, 8/18 the day of the fight. He said, you heard Durk on the phone through Booney Mo. He say, yeah. Brian still say, and you remember what happened. There were phone records. You would have been shown phone records. Jam say, no. Brian still said, I didn't know they ain't speak about, oh no. Jam say, I didn't know they ain't speak with my BM. It's not my job. So Brian still basically say, did you know that the police never talked to your baby mama about corroborating your story? He like, nah, I don't know nothing about that. I don't do the police job. Then Brian still say, it is your job because you talk about all that other stuff. And this shit was so funny, bruh. Brian still must have thought he was in YSL mode because he called Slutty 3 times in a row. And even Jim had to correct him like, no, Slutty. So there's texts and I wrote down, bro, we've seen text and calls shown. And then Brian still said, you guys set Quando Rondo's location before the 17th. Think about that. If Duty Low would have went to jail, some people are saying Duty Low was going to go to jail because of him dropping Quando Rondo's location and all that. Then people saying, well, Duty Low wasn't going to go to jail because essentially Duty Low was giving up the location, but nobody got killed at that location. So once nobody got killed, it's not to him, but that's still conspiracy to commit murder, bro. So part of the reason they didn't charge Duty Low is literally because you found out that a girl had texted OTF Jam the damn, what's the name? The location of Quando Rondo. So there's that. And then Jam say, I didn't ask for it. And Brian still say, can you explain why you got Quando Rondo's address? He say, I don't know. It was a random female and I was basically trying to fuck with her. I guess she was cute or whatever the hell. I don't know. Brian still say, you got the location of Quando Rondo before the 17th? He say, I don't know. Brian still say, you gave the info for your cousin. Your cousin name is Crazy, and Crazy is violent as hell. And you wanted Crazy to fly with you. Jam say, yeah. Brian still say, you ever brought up Booney Mo name? Let us know. because there was all this shit about Booney Mo, but he never brought up Booney Mo in none of his interrogation shit as far as the recordings go. So Brian still say, you called Chris the day before you called Booney Mo. The day before. You called Booney Mo and Booney Mo called you back. So the damn Booney Mo called me out the blue shit, that was bullshit because you called Booney Mo first. And then Jam say, I see it in text. Brian still say, you knew to mess up Quando Rondo and Lil Tim when you seen him. Jam say, yeah. So all this shit that I didn't have beef with Quando Rondo and all this stuff and everything, Brian still basically like, yo, you said that if you see Lil Tim or Quando Rondo fucked him up. Jam like, yeah. So Jam say it was an understanding as a group. Brian still said, you want people to believe your word. Brian still said, you had no idea about how close Vonnie and King Von were. Jam say, no. Brian still say, we never hear you say anything about Navy SEAL or FaceTime until today. Bro, I was like, what? So Jam said all that Navy SEAL and shit during the trial. That's when he said the shit. And Brian still say, you were planning to kill Quando Rondo the night of the murders. You didn't want to be caught for the murder. Jam say, I gave up murders that they didn't even know nothing about. Brian still say, we're talking about this murder. Brian still said, the next morning you were talking and preparing for the murder. Your mission was to kill human beings. Jam say, yeah. Brian still say, you know you decided to kill and know who you killed didn't matter. Jam say, yeah. Brian still say, you were in control. You told Asa to slow down. You were in control. You were a professional shooter, no, professional killer. Brian still said, you said Lil Durk was on FaceTime and smiling. Jam say, no, I don't remember. Did Brian still say, did Durk FaceTime you after the shooting? Jam say, no, he got on the phone after the shooting when we got rid of the clothes and the gun at a corner garbage can. Brian still say, you have anything but your word that had happened. Jam say, no, unless the feds had a phone tap. Brian still say, yeah, basically. Did Brian still say this shit? And I know it's going to be used in closing because it just makes sense. Brian still say, so you cowardly went back to Chicago. They say, objection. We want that struck, and the judge struck it. But this fool, Jam said, yeah, I like that. Brian still say, that's because you're a coward. Jam say, yeah, that's your words. But I beat up a lot of people. Brian still say, you called Durk mad. Jam say, yeah. Why would you put me in that situation? Brian still said, you said you wanted to go back and get Quando Rondo. Brian still said, this fool Jam was bragging about the murder and said, yo, I want to go back to LA and finish the job and kill Quando Rondo. I was like, hell nah. And Jam said, no, I never said that. Brian still said, your name is Jam and your sister's name is Jelly. And Jam means just another murder. And I was like, what the fuck? Everybody was like, what the hell? And then Jam say, he say Brian still say something I can't remember. But this fool Jam say, Flocka and Cuz got something to say about Lil Durk. And then Brian still say, basically, bro, your stories are made up. All the stories that you say about the murder with Lil Durk, it's all your words. You don't have any actual physical proof. You don't have text. You don't have call. You don't have nothing. And then we broke for the day. If y'all can, man, do me a solid one. Please hit that like button, man. Please hit that like button. Other than that, click right here to get caught up with the first half or click right here for the playlist, and I will catch y'all in the next one. I will be reading the transcripts. The way the transcripts are going to go, I'm going to do the full transcript when that drops for the DA, well, the AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney. I'm going to do his shit. We'll do that, and then we'll do Brian Steele's full ass kicking of goddamn Jam, bro. It is, trust me, it's worth it, man. So make sure y'all subscribe, man, and I will catch y'all in the next one.